What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
When you look at Kelvin Benjamin, guys, he's 6'5", he's 245 pounds. He's probably a Popeye's biscuit away from being a tight end.
It's not the Dallas Cowboys, but it's a start.
You love this. And then whoop, and then
Oh, the Denver Broncos.
Now stay tuned for 6 hours of exciting football action.
Bears trying to cross midfield.
Hey, it's an Easter Sunday edition of Straight Off the Couch. Did the bunny leave anything in your yard besides little brown turds? I bet Adam has all the answers and some hidden eggs for us. Let's find out, shall we? Hit it.
They call him the Galloping Gazelle. His habitat the frozen tundra of Soldier Field. For 6 seasons and 2 Pro Bowls, he grazed on the tasty green turf of the end zone. Until one fateful Sunday in November, when the Gazelle was stopped in his tracks by a big cat named Wayne Krzyzewski.
Want to come with me and Wally to the Super Bowl?
Oh, absolutely. My favorite team's in it. The Atlanta Falcons.
I'm exhausted.
Straight off the couch.
I'm exhausted too, Al, but that's just because I'm an old fart. Before we get too much farther, though, let me bring in my broadcast partner, the ever-affable and effervescent Adam Weidel. Adam, how you doing today, brother?
I'm good, buddy. Happy Easter. Hope you and yours had an enjoyable little bit of time off and ate some good food, hopefully.
Well, we don't, yeah, my company doesn't observe holidays like that, so no, I didn't have extra time off.
Aw.
But it's still a Sunday, and I don't work on Sundays besides doing the show here, so.
Yeah, well, this isn't really work when you're with your friends, right?
Right,
You're just having
yeah.
a good time talking about the foosball.
The football, the devil's ball.
Now, unfortunately, there's no football going on right now, but we continue to break down each division every week until we get up to the draft, and we're on our third from last division this week, the NFC South.
The most mired in mediocrity division in all of football.
I call this one the Roulette division.
Because you never know who's going to win.
You never know who's going to win this division, and it's done by like 9 wins. Like it's a squeaker at week 18 now. It's there's so many implications come playoff time when we get to the end of the season with this division. For some reason, there's always like 3 in the riding to go to the playoffs, and only one ever makes it.
Right. And you're right. It usually comes down to week 15, 16, or 17 before they decide which one is going to have the 8-9 record to make it into the playoffs.
Right. Is Brownie like that?
Yeah. She was down with the sickness. So the neighbors are walking their puppy outside, and she can.
Oh yes.
Yeah, you know. So
yeah, you can't get off my lawn.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah. Well, she's just so darn protective of us, even though you offer a pork chop and she's going to roll over for you. So
dogs are like the greatest thing ever.
Then again, if you offer me a pork chop, I'll probably roll over and show you my belly too. So
I mean, if I'm hungry, for sure.
Like a good pork chop, man.
So we got to break down the Panthers, the Saints, the Falcons, and the Bucks. How do you want to do it this week? Do you want to go from who's got the most or who's got the least salary cap space?
Yeah, let's go with who's got the most.
All right. The most, believe it or not, at number 21 in the league is the Carolina Panthers with $9.3 million in cap space. Their offense was ranked 32 overall, while their defense was actually 4th.
Yeah, dead last in offense and 4th in defense, which, wow. I mean, even that being said,
right?
Though, they're still the most messed up team in the entire league. I mean, they're just mired in not being able to get out of their own way.
They're the joke. They're definitely the joke of the NFL right now. It was the Lions forever.
Dan Campbell turned that around.
And Campbell turned that around. And, the Cam Newton years of the Panthers, they looked like they were coming on and they were going to have a contender. And they did actually go to a bowl.
I think Cam took one too many hits to the head from a pirate because he's talking nonsense on Twitter like crazy.
And yeah, and just seeing some of his like short form videos where he's completely. He's always wearing this most elaborate outfit, like he's a pimp or something.
Well, no, he was like that when he was in the league, if you remember right. They actually.
I remember seeing his outfits coming to the stadium on game day, but now it's just like I don't even recognize him sometimes.
Yeah, ESPN would actually, I think they had a segment just dedicated to see what he was going to be wearing when he came in every week. Because it was just, I don't want to say outrageous, but it was very stylish. And
so we've gotten past the Cam Newton years in Carolina. What do they need to do, Terry, to be competitive in this division?
Blow it all up and start over again?
I know. Fourth overall defense, I don't think they need to start over again. I think they need to do something on their offensive side.
I looked that up before the show, just wanted to be prepared, And I was completely blown away by the fact that they had the fourth overall defense in the league.
I was quite shocked. And to be honest, I did watch a couple Panthers games, divisional games, and hell, were they boring. They were a defensive game. There was not a lot of scoring.
Yeah. I mean, just nothing going on. It's so boring to watch.
I mean, if you're into defensive football, it was definitely a team to watch. But I think most of us want to see those real long bombs into the end zone and those good rushes and those angry runs. I think that's what the excitement is.
I like a defensive game. I really do. I don't mind when you see two teams that are going at it and it's a 3-6 game. But you can have some excitement in there with the defense, and I just didn't see that from Carolina at all.
So I'll break down what they've done in free agency so far, and then you can tell us what you think they need to do next. They brought on wide receiver Deontay Johnson from the Pittsburgh Steelers. I brought on wide receiver David Moore, signed a free agent deal. Offensive tackle Josh Nijman. Offensive guard Robert Hunt, offensive guard Damian Lewis, defensive tackle. They've got some real big defensive moves. They're just re-signs. Bunch of edge. Jadeveon Clowney.
That's a big. That's a big.
That's a big one for them. 2-year deal with him. And of course they went corner. Troy Hill and Dane Jackson. They brought back.
I'm down with the idea of. It sounds like they tried to build up the offensive line a little bit because, let's face it, that rookie struggled last year, and I don't think all of it is entirely his fault. They didn't have much of a line to block for him, and.
I mean, it's hard to be a quarterback in this league, period, without no line in front of you. You have to make a decision in less than a second, and the ball needs to be out of your hand in less than 3 seconds in order to make a play. So if you've got the ball longer than 3 seconds, defense has got you most of the time.
Like I said, it sounds like they made some moves, but none of those guys jump off the page at me either.
No, and then they did some safety signings, 3 safeties: Sam Franklin, Jordan Fuller, and Nick Scott. So they are kind of buffering up that the secondary there.
Well,
I think they're just holding on to what they have to keep that 4th-ranked defense intact.
I hope they address offensive line more in the draft. I think that's where their biggest weakness is right now. It doesn't matter who you have running the ball. It doesn't matter who you have catching the ball. It doesn't matter who you have throwing the ball. If the quarterback keeps getting the ball shoved up his ass every play, Yeah,
they definitely need to have some protection up front. And I'm with you 100%. I really don't think it matters who their wideouts are, their tight ends, their running backs. I really don't think it matters. Everybody in this league has shining moments, and they're here for a reason.
Right.
We broke this down, and what we figured there was 2,000 player positions in the league.
Right.
We did that a couple episodes ago. So
these are the 2,000 best players available in North America under 40, basically.
Yeah, absolutely, and preferably under 30.
Right.
For in most cases, right. So. College is big business, and there's a lot of great players in college, but they don't all make the NFL.
No, completely different game for a reason.
So I'm with you. It doesn't matter who they got in the backfield. It doesn't matter who they've got, shooting down the sidelines.
Adrian Peterson couldn't get yardage without somebody blocking for him.
Well, and we look at just an example. Some of the big signings that of wide receivers that went into another team and struggled.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We see it all the time.
Yeah. Somebody's got to block so the quarterback has time to make a decision. And like I said, doesn't need a lot of time, but he needs a couple of seconds.
Unless he's a great quarterback that can extend a play, and use his legs to extend a play, reset the pocket, and that's kind of hard to do.
It's kind of hard to do. And will this rookie have a sophomore slump, or will he pick it up a notch? That's going to be dependent.
Well, I think they owe it to him to protect him to start with, and then we can find out if he really has what it takes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's our number 21 in the salary cap. Moving on to number 22 overall is the New Orleans Saints with $8.9 million available in salary cap. Their offense was 14th and their defense was 13th.
That just screams middle of the road to me, doesn't it?
It says I'm gonna hopefully win this division.
Taysom Hill can only do so much.
So that's a guy that's not going to go anywhere. I think he's going to retire as a Saint.
Well, and I've heard it postulated a few times here lately. That's what Pittsburgh should do with Justin Fields, is make him a Taysom Hill type player. But I like what they do with him down there. But I don't see a lot of people in the league wanting to have a player like him.
Well, and the Drew Brees years are over. New Orleans was pretty solid as a team when they had Drew Brees and Sean Payton as a coach too. Let's be honest.
Right. Yeah.
And they've done some re-signings. So some of these signings are
head scratchers.
But I mean, they have Derek Carr. It looks like they signed him to the deal last year. He's with them for a few years.
Right,
I think he was a 3 or 5 year deal. I can't remember exactly what it was, but they brought back backup QB Nathan Peterman, wide receiver Cedric Wilson. That's a good one to sign a 2-year deal with.
Yeah,
I think he's still got some years behind him. Edge Chase Young.
That's a big signing.
That's a big signing, but he's only a 1-year deal. So,
well, that's because he wants to see what they're going to do. Are they going to decide to win the division or not? That's what.
And then one of the best tandem linebacking groups in the NFL, they agreed to terms with Demario Davis and Willie Gay Jr. So that's big.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge because they actually that takes away a little bit from another team, the Chiefs. So that'll be.
And then they did the safety thing too. They signed Jonathan Abrams and Tyrann Mathieu. He signed a 2-year contract. So they've got some work to do come draft time.
Sounds like they're trying to move in the right direction. Again, if I remember right, the 3 or 4 games I saw with them, not only offensive line, defensive line, I didn't see much either side of the ball that stood out to me on either one of those. So again, I'm going to go line help.
Once again, hard to watch. We watch a lot of games, and you watch what's in your market area,
right,
and I have the benefit of watching them all, but I have to decide which 4 at a time I'm going to watch.
New Orleans probably isn't really high on your list.
And yeah, New Orleans was not high on the list. If they were in the late window, I would usually pick them up because there's generally only 3 or 4 games in the late window, while the majority of them are at the 1 o'clock.
Right.
So I would pick up a few of their games, but again, it was like the Panthers. It was very hard to watch, especially if it was a divisional game. It was defense.
Mm-hmm.
I did watch them and the Bucks go at it twice last year.
There was 1 or 2 games where
it was awful.
There was 1 or 2 games where Jameis Winston had to start, and
yes.
Wow, is he bad?
He's a loose cannon, and he's not going to be back on that team, especially after the whole.
Yeah.
He went to Atlanta. Sorry, he's been around that division, to be honest. He played for the Bucks.
He wants to stay close to home, But he's watching him on that try and run that offense was oh my God. That was
the only team that guy hasn't been on in the division is the Panthers.
Hey, give him time, man. Give him time. He's still a young man. Maybe 1 year in Atlanta, and then he goes to the Carolina Panthers. I
Who
mean,
knows?
just don't rush him. He'll get there.
I have no idea where he's going. I've never. I know he's not going to be on the Falcons anymore. Which goes to our next one in line here is number 29 on the salary cap list, the Atlanta Falcons, with $2.7 million in cap space. Their offense was 17th in the league, while their defense was 11th.
Again, screaming mediocrity to me. But then
it's like who's got the better roulette game.
Then again, they picked up Kirk Cousins. That I'm anxious to see what Kirk does down there. But they lost Cordero Patterson, another guy who's been around the league a lot. So, and with the new kickoff rule, I think that's going to be a bigger loss than they realize.
So there's some crazy things that happen in the league. Maybe we should save them until after we're done with the division, just with that owners meeting. Yeah. That was big.
That was huge.
So they did sign Kirk to a 4-year, $180 million contract.
Say what you will about Kirk Cousins. God bless the man. He knows how to get paid.
Golly gee, he's getting paid.
And he made a lot of money when he was with Minnesota.
The Vikings, yeah.
He made a lot of money his last contract with the Commanders. I mean, he knows how to get paid. You got to give the guy credit for that. If nothing else, he's like, you know what? Contract time. How much could I bilk him for?
No rings, and probably going to be the highest paid quarterback to ever play the game.
Yeah, total money made. Yeah. But then again, he doesn't do a lot of, sponsors. So he's got to make it up somewhere. That's where a lot of those guys make their money.
I think he's pretty safe too. He's a pretty safe quarterback to have.
Right. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He's methodical. He's a good player. I've always liked Kirk Cousins, but like you said, he just can't seem to put it together to make the run.
He was fun to watch his story on the Netflix series Quarterback. Mm-hmm. Watching him, that was some interesting stuff. So
you can't help but like the guy.
Back to Atlanta. Oh, and the chains, like the chains around his neck. Oh,
yeah.
when they went on that win streak and he had all the ice around his neck, and he brought it back for the
for the family.
What game? Yeah, what game was it? He was in the stands there up in the mezzanine. And
I remember. Oh, it was one of the playoff games. Yeah.
Shirt off with the ice on around his neck. That was hilarious. It's funny that he can make fun of himself like that and doesn't seem to care. I think that's great. Wide receiver Ray McLeod signed a 2-year contract. Kaderil Hodge re-signed with the Falcons, but no details. Darnell Mooney, 3-year, $39 million deal.
See, and being Darnell came from the Bears, I think that's going to be a fairly lethal combination. Darnell was underutilized by the Bears. He started off better playing the outside, and then they brought more in. So I look for Darnell Mooney and Kirk Cousins to get some chemistry going quickly.
So they also brought in wideout Rondale Moore, acquired in a trade with the Cards in exchange for their big draft pick, QB Desmond Ridder.
Well, they got to make a plan down the road. So
yeah, so they dealt him, and I guess when you sign a $180 million quarterback, you got to deal the other guy.
Yeah.
Charlie Warner, tight end, signed a 3-year deal. Offensive tackle Storm Norton re-signed on a free agent deal. Kadavius Street, he's an edge rusher, re-signed on a free agent deal, and Liam McCullough resigned with the Falcons on another free agent deal. So they brought some of their guys back, and I know they have some young blood in the backfield. So I think that they may have a better chance of going forward or getting close to that division title this year. Just looking at what they've done and what they're building off of. And they have a new coach too.
And let's face it, in that division, it's not really a hard thing to do to win that division. You don't have to do much.
It's all going to depend on what their schedule difficulty is with other teams.
Yeah. And they didn't have much of a record last year, so it might be a good schedule for them. And I really don't know what they need to do to turn the corner.
So I scratched my head on this one, trying to think of what they need to do draft-wise, and I think they're really going to need to put in a couple pieces in defense. Everyone needs corners.
Everybody needs corners.
And I think they need to bolster up their offensive line a little bit more. When you are, what did I say, 17th in offense and 11th in defense? Okay, so defense is doing a good job. Probably just need to bolster the secondary a little bit more so that they're not putting up so many yards against you. And offensive wise, if you're middle of the road, you probably need some O-line in front of you, because as we said earlier, it really doesn't matter who the wide out or the running back is. You're guaranteed to have one of the best 2,000 players catching that ball.
I mean, they averaged 334 yards a game, 3,500 total passing. That's 207 yards passing a game. That's not going to get it done. Rushing was 2159. That's 127 rushing per game. Yeah, you're going to need to do something there. Average is 18.9 points per game, so
they got to do something with that O-line.
Yeah.
That's all. And they probably will address that in a draft. I think they're probably going to go for some young players. They don't have a quarterback issue with signing Kirk.
Right. And Kirk can make a mediocre offensive line better just because he's so quick with his decision making. So that'll help.
And he's a safe quarterback, so he can make a decision. And he doesn't do a lot with his legs, but when he does, it's kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, I think they're gonna. Let's put a pin in that one because I'm not sure. I can't really. What it's Atlanta,
Yeah. Who knows? I think we're going to be in a shock. All this analysis, if we go back and listen to it later on, we're going to go, shit, were we ever wrong? But that's kind of the fun of it.
Well, I hope we're right about the next team, and that'd be the final one left in the division there, Tampa Bay Buccaneers with our little boy Baker.
31 in the league for cap space. They only have $2.5 million to play with. Offense, 23rd in the league. Defense, 23rd in the league.
That shocked me. They won the division with.
I'm how? Yeah, like how?
Well, I know how.
Right?
I know how. Baker.
Yeah, well, Baker came on, and wow, Baker baked. But yeah, I was just like, I looked at that, I was like, that can't be right. I had to go to multiple sources, and I was just like, okay, they're 23rd in the league.
I did too, man. But they won the division being 23rd offensive and defensive. How?
It's messed up, right?
It really is.
So they did sign Baker. We were worried about our boy Baker for a while. It didn't look like he was going to get a deal.
Well, he gambled on himself last year. That was a one-year deal, a make-it-or-break-it situation, and he proved he could do it. And, we've talked about it. We both have always liked Baker, so.
Yeah, and he re-signed, and he got a 3-year, $100 million deal, which includes a $30 million fully guaranteed in the first year.
Good for Baker, man.
Good for Baker. He's getting a bag of cash, and I think he's actually at home in Tampa Bay. He finally found a home. It certainly looked like that.
Yeah, it does. It feels like it's a good fit. Like he's happy there, and they're happy with him.
The Browns did him dirty. The Rams did him dirty, sort of. The Panthers definitely did him dirty. Well, nobody gave him a chance.
I'm going to go out and make a prediction here, and we might want to stick a pin in this as well. Not necessarily this year, but I think moving forward in the next 3, 4, 5 years, we're going to see a lot of quarterbacks drafted very high, winning, but not with the team that drafted them. Because
I agree.
Because they're throwing these kids, and a lot of teams do it. They're drafting these kids high, and they're like 21, 22, 23-year-old kids. They're kids, and they're going, okay, you're in charge of this billion-dollar organization. You're the face of the organization, and it's just too much pressure, and it's going to take them all 3, 4, 5 years to learn how to deal with that. But by then, they'll be on their second or third team, like Baker. So I think we're going to see more situations like Baker moving forward.
I think what happens with young players, there's definitely prove yourself situation, and some of them are awesome, but they're also having to deal with this sudden influx of money and fame as well, and they're partying a bit, I think, because they're just like, oh my god, girls are all over me, and I'm buying bottles at the club, and
not just that. A lot of these come from really bad situations, inner city kids and stuff like that. So people,
they come from the projects and stuff, and all they could do was play football.
Right, and so there are kids who hung around them that had questionable behaviors in school, and are borderline nefarious. Are going to come out of the woodwork going, "Hey, yo, man, remember how I took care of you to get you through this? I'm going to need a little something, and it's a lot to put on a kid, and I that's why I'm a firm believer in. I hate to give them credit, but Green Bay does it. They draft somebody and they let them sit for 2 or 3 seasons behind a proven guy to get not only used to the game, but to get used to the situation with the money and having people come out of the woodworks. And it's a really difficult transition for these kids.
So even though the Bucs only have $2.5 million in space, they did make some good re-signings. Running back Chase Edmonds. Of course, Mike Evans got his bag. Only 2 years, 2-year, $52 million deal. But I mean, it's good to have Mike Evans in Tampa. I couldn't see him anywhere else, to be honest.
No, I don't either.
He's had 10 1,000-yard seasons.
He does it kind of quietly.
Yeah, and he does it very quietly. He's very humble.
Yeah.
Offensive line, Justin School. Offensive guard, Ben Bredesen, signed a 1-year deal. Sua Opeta, another offensive guard. They've got some really strange names in Tampa sometimes.
Well, it's Florida. Yeah.
Yeah. Defensive line, Greg Gaines. Linebacker, Levante David. He's a force to be reckoned with.
He's good.
He re-signed a 1-year deal. A lot of these are 1-year deals, surprisingly. And, well, actually not surprisingly, because they've got, no cap space to work with.
They've got no cap space, and they're dealing a little bit with an aging defense.
They did sign 2 corners, Bryce Hall and Tavier Thomas. And then safety-wise, Jordan Whitehead signed a 2-year deal. Antoine Winfield Jr. Got the non-exclusive franchise tag, so I don't see him going anywhere.
Yeah, but it depends if they have the money to match.
And, that's it too. Who knows? But there we are. That's what they've done. Now, what do they need to do in the draft? That's the question. They have a quarterback. They've put their money behind Baker, which they absolutely should. I cannot see any quarterback coming out of this draft that's going to be at the level that Baker's at right now.
No, he's playing at a really high level. The only thing I can think of, maybe, let me look at the what was their rushing stuff.
The run game was not fantastic, I don't think.
Come on, Tampa Bay, jump off the screen at me here. There we go. 88.8 yards per game.
Yeah, that's not going to get it done.
No, you're going to need to pick up the running game. So usually that's the interior line and the running back. They don't. None of the running backs jump off the page at me as being spectacular. So I mean, they put a lot on Baker's shoulders because they had to, and he performed for them. But I think they need to bolster their running game and maybe get some tight end help to make them more dangerous than they already are.
And draft some corners. Everybody needs corners.
Corners. I mean, it's true.
All right, so that pretty much wraps up that division. What are your thoughts? Who is going to the playoffs out of these 4 teams? Who's winning the division?
I'm going to tell you who's not going to win, and that's Carolina.
Yeah, I think Carolina has a long way to go. They'll be lucky to have a 500 record.
A toss-up between Atlanta and Tampa Bay. I don't picture the Saints doing it either.
Yeah, so Atlanta and Tampa, I think, are going to be the 2 juggernauts. Derek Carr did not look great for the Saints last season.
No. Yeah,
I don't know why. He just didn't have his rhythm, and he could get his rhythm back now that he's been in the system for a year.
Well, I think part of that was a new head coach and learning a new thing,
Yeah, so we'll see. But, yeah, I think you're right. It's going to be Atlanta and Tampa kind of fighting for that division title.
Fighting for mediocrity. Who's 9-8 and who's 8-9?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa does some damage, though. And Baker's feeling good. He's got some confidence back. So
he looks good. He looks
yeah. As long as he can stay healthy, I think Tampa's the surefire division winner. But we won't fight out till week 18.
Yeah, well, and he's got that gunslinger mentality that we all seem to like. You know,
and he can run the ball.
Yeah, he puts it all out there. So yeah. Let's invite Baker to DQ. We'll buy him a dilly bar.
We'll take care of Baker. We like watching him.
Yeah,
he's fun.
I like Baker. Yeah.
That's the one team in the division that I actually enjoyed watching, and it's not because of Tommy Terrific was there. It was just like
they were fun to watch. They were fun to watch.
Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Baker Mayfield. Man, that's fun. That's just fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think they're the division winner. I could be proven wrong. Atlanta could sneak in there. Kirk's got some work to do in a new system. We'll see.
So let's move on to the owners' meetings.
Wow. Wow. I'm still beside myself here with the things that they brought out.
They're working on the hip drop tackle. Not all of them, though. Just the ones where the defensive player appears to be intentionally going for the hip drop on the back of the legs.
Yeah, I mean,
and they're not doing it. They're not going after the legs on purpose. It's an efficient way to tackle. You get your arms around somebody by the waist, and you pick your legs up off the ground, and you let your body weight pull them down. Unfortunately, sometimes when that happens, they're directly behind the center of mass, and they're landing on Achilles and knees and heels and stuff.
I mean, it's fair, and I understand the safety aspect of it, but it's going to get to the point where we have enough reffing problems, and they're going to see it from their angle, and they're going to call hip drop tackles that aren't actually from behind.
Well, and that's another thing that's the hip drop tackles are reviewable without a coach asking. Those are going to be reviewed automatically in New York every time it's called.
Good, because we do not need to see 15 yards every time.
Right. And another thing that they talked about, they're not going to do it, but they talked about it. They should have an eye in the sky every play. There's enough officiating and the technologies there that can have one guy in New York watching every game, overruling or picking up things that were overlooked.
Yeah, they were talking about doing the whole ball tracker situation where for first downs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
With like putting some sort of tech in the ball so that they wouldn't be doing these like ridiculous taking 10 minutes to measure if it was a first down or not.
Yeah.
They'd get it instantly. I know they were talking about stuff like that, but let's talk about the actual big change that you and I kind of alluded was going to happen, but we didn't know it was going to be like this.
And I kind of like the idea because they've put the return game back in the game.
So yeah, but before we get into it, we're talking about the new kickoff rules.
Yeah,
and the new kickoff rules make it like super interesting. Do you have any copy on that, on how it works?
I could find it really quick, but it's if you want to see it, you can go to YouTube and watch an XFL kickoff from last year and see how it operates because the XFL ran it last year. The kicker lines up where he normally does now, and the 35, right, and the return team can have two people within the 20-yard line to catch the ball, and the remaining players line up 5 yards apart as opposed to 20, and they cannot move until the ball is touched. Once the ball is touched, it's go time. This could be fun. This could be fun to watch. And not for the kicking team, not everybody has to be on the line. You can have two people off the line a little bit. So if it lands between the 20 and the end zone, it has to be returned, correct? That was the rule? Right. Players can still take a knee if they want to, so they don't get tackled, but it has to be returned. Right. And there's no fair catch. And I think if they take a knee, they get the ball where they take the knee at. Yes, which makes sense. Yeah, but now I think this is going to be one of the things we're going to have to watch. Within the 5 yard line, are they going to have to return it, or can it hit the ground and roll into the end zone and they get it to 25? There's a lot of questions there for sure because they weren't really clear on the exact rule, and we're all gonna learn it together because there's gonna be like all these little like rule book footnotes. Like Yeah, they're gonna.
If it touches the 1 yard line and then comes back, then blah blah. You
Yeah.
know how some of these rules are just absolutely
and
ridiculous.
I'm sure during the preseason we're going to see every network have a little video to show us how it works and what's going to break down.
Yeah.
And then
everybody's going to make their own computer generated video of
right. and then if the networks are smart, and I think one or two of them possibly is. I'm looking at you, Amazon Prime. Then they were going to get a highlight package of how it worked for the preseason and play that before the first game, just so everybody understands how it's going to work.
Yes.
Because it's not terribly complicated, but it's not simple either. There's some caveats, some quid pro quos, some he said, she said, and like I said, it's going to bring the return back into the game. Pittsburgh picked up Cordero Patterson from Atlanta, and I think that was a brilliant move because Cordero Patterson's probably the best return guy in the league right now. And
they saved so much money in QBs that they could have paid him whatever. But Steelers are just making moves, and they're not spending a lot of money doing it.
No, they're being really smart with it. But I think you're going to see a lot of teams looking for people like Cordero Patterson, like Devin Hester. Return guys' jobs are going to be important again. And I like return guys having important jobs. It's an exciting play when the kickoff is fun. The other thing they changed was the onside kick.
Yes. So we talked about that. It has to be declared. You can't do any sneaky onside kick. But I think with the new kickoff rules, I don't think there's any need for the onside kick, to be honest.
Well, yeah, it's going to change the way they perform that for sure.
But we have to wait and see. We're going to have to see. Teams are already going to start planning for this. I think you're going to see a lot of teams in the draft get special teams guys. Just for the specific thing.
Well, and if you remember 2005, 2006, the last time the Bears were in the Super Bowl, Devin Hester had a year that year. And they changed the return rule because he was, their offense was, I think calling him mediocre is a bit of a gift. But their defense was fantastic. And between the defense and Devin Hester returning kickoffs, and that was a formula for success. And if this works out again, you might see some teams going that way again.
Well, and that's just it. We can't predict anything, even though we've been breaking down these divisions week after week. Now with this change, we have absolutely no clue what's going to happen. It might come down to who's got the best special teams guys.
Finally, because we got offense and defense, but special teams are important too, and teams that invest in special teams usually perform a little better, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's usually about field position. They do the best with field position, but this could change everything. This might not be about field position anymore.
There might be some scoring coming on, and that's fun.
Which is, I'm kind of excited about that because, a guy catching a ball and taking a knee or waving his hand in the air for a fair catch is not fun kickoff. Just get rid of the kickoff if you're going to do that. Let them have it at the 30 or wherever.
And like you mentioned earlier, who was it? Let me look here real quick. The Bengals kicker had an interesting thought, but I think he's been listening to the show.
Evan McPherson?
Evan's been listening to the show because he said if you put it through the uprights, you get 4 points.
4 points. He changed it. He didn't like our odd numbers, like 1 point or 1.5 points. He changed that shit. He was just like, I got a better idea.
Again, everybody in the league listens to this show.
Yeah. So the exact quote from Evan McPherson is, I've got an idea for a fun rule. If you kick it through the uprights, make that 4 points, and if you miss, they get it at the 30. I kind of like it.
I do too.
I'd love the league to be fun again in all aspects.
And if that happens, they're going to bring in guys who, from the waist up, they look like they're an NBA player, but from the waist down, they look like Goliath. Yeah.
Quadzilla. But yeah, it's going to be one of those things where I'm not going to be taking bathroom breaks during the kickoffs anymore, because what happened for me anyway is that the networks would they'd do the kickoff and then the networks would go to a commercial break, and it's like 10 minutes before we actually see the first play happen after the kickoff.
Well, you mentioned going to the bathroom for the kickoff. I'm going to give you a pro tip. adult diapers.
There you go.
Just sit in your own piss all fucking day long. That's what I do.
Just get the catheter rocking, and yeah. Well,
You're
I'm not missing a damn thing.
No.
Grab me another Coors Light.
Why do you think all the golfers wear those funny pants, man? They're rocking the adult diapers. They don't want to stop, and you can't take it out in the middle of the green, So there's that going for you. Well,
so that's all the news that I've seen. There's nothing really else to discuss coach wise or anything. It was just that owners meeting that the two big things came out.
Yeah, and they're fairly big though. I mean, the hip drop.
They're
tackle,
huge. They're absolutely huge.
Yeah. So that does it for this week's show. Is that what I'm hearing here, Adam?
Yeah, we're pretty much tied up here with the NFC South. Next week we go around the compass one last time, and we get that AFC West, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are looking forward to listening to that one.
Yeah, AFC West is a fun division. It's probably the best division in football.
Yeah, well, I think, hey, we go AFC West, and then we have NFC West the week after that, and both those divisions produce Super Bowl contenders.
Multiple Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
that's big deal stuff there. The West is where it's at apparently these days.
Go West, young man. Well, how do the boys and girls find us, Adam?
Yeah, so in the description we'll have our little straight off the couch link tree. So link tree / straight off the couch. But you can click all that. That's got all our links to X or email and Facebook and all that good stuff.
Well, for my broadcast partner, the ever affable and effervescent Adam Whitehall, it's me, Terry. I hope you all had a nice Easter. Be safe, God bless. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.